Hi. Sorry for the delay, everyone. Welcome back to another Healthy Minds live guided meditation. If you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. And just so you know, Healthy Minds Innovations is founded by donors. It's a nonprofit aimed at translating science into practical tools for well-being. There's a number of offerings, including a mobile app, the Healthy Minds program, and live streams like this. So this week's theme is awareness. And awareness is, I would say, the foundation of our four skills of well-being, our four pillars of well-being: awareness, connection, insight, and purpose. There's a reason why it's the first one. Um, Good morning, everyone. I see you in the chat. Good morning, Liz, Jason, Jan or Jan, Jason, David. Welcome. So I have a fun little story for all of you. We're going to do a practice that was inspired by someone who's been my greatest teacher for the past year and a half. He's about 16 months old, and I was out for a walk with him this morning in the woods, and we were taking a kind of wagon ride, and I put a bunch of balls in the wagon with him. And one of the things he loves to do, I guess it's something about babies exploring their agency, but he loves to throw the ball out of the wagon because he knows daddy will walk over and pick it up and put it back, right? So we're walking through this. You can picture this nature trail. We're walking through the trail. He's throwing the ball out. I keep picking it up, putting it back. He's throwing the ball out, keep putting it back. Oh, I'm seeing that there's some trouble hearing me. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I'll try to speak up and make sure my microphone's plugged in. Let me know if there's still a problem with that. So anyway, so he's throwing the ball outside the wagon, picking it up, throwing the ball, picking it up. And then at one point, he goes to throw the ball and he just stops. He goes, and he just freezes. And I think typically what I would do in this situation is I would, oh, go ahead, throw the ball, buddy. Come on, let's throw the ball, whatever. But in this moment, especially, I was just thinking about, reflecting on what to guide for this practice. And I waited and I said, how long is he going to pause for? It's very rare for a 16-month-old to pause. So pause. And then halfway through this pause, I realized what he was doing was he was listening to a sound. There was like a garbage truck in the distance that was screeching, like, and he was just listening to the sound. And I just thought, how interesting that he's so present in the moment in his awareness that in the middle of this game, even though to me, because I was expecting him to be so into this activity, he just completely abandoned the ball game in an instant and just was like, now I want to listen to the sound. And his hands kind of drifted down and he was just listening to the sound. So it's I think a wonderful little moment to recognize that pure sense of awareness. Like, how often do we as grown-ups or adults really take a moment to listen to the sound around us? And also there's a kind of hidden moment in there where I realized that my own ongoing practice of awareness over the years is sort of what empowered me to have that space for choice, that instead of immediately reactively saying, okay, buddy, throw the ball, I was able to actually just take a pause and notice him. And that's also an example of awareness. So I think in honor of this great teacher, his name's Oliver, what I thought we would do today is an awareness of sound practice. We'll just do 10 minutes. I know we were a bit late getting started, and I want to make sure I don't delay you in any way. But with that, good morning to everyone. Welcome, and let's get started with the practice. So find yourself a comfortable position, something that just feels natural yet awake. And if you like, you can close your eyes, or if you can want to keep your eyes open, you can find a point to stare at. It usually is helpful to not kind of look around all over the place, but to sort of find a spot to stare at. So I'm seeing some comments about the sound. I'll try to speak up to see if that's maybe part of the issue. Okay, so find your seat and just take a moment to fully arrive here. Good morning, Addie. And really, this first minute of practice is just a chance to settle in. It's kind of like if you had a snow globe that's been shaken about all morning or whatever time it is where you are. And we're just setting it down and letting all the particles fall to the ground. So nothing to do for this first minute, just to fully arrive, settle into the moment. Whatever you're experiencing right now is perfectly okay. If you're noticing nothing, that's fine. If you're noticing discomfort or lots of thoughts or anything like that, just let it all happen for now. It's all part of the process. No need to play tug of war or resist or fight anything. Just another few moments to fully arrive here. Now, when you're ready, I want you to immediately wake up to your sound environment, all the sounds in your environment. There's no need to gradually settle in. Just come online and be fully present with any sounds that might be in your environment right now. You might notice sounds that are far away. You might notice sounds that are close. You might notice persistent droning sounds. You might notice acute, sudden sounds. It's all good. Just notice whatever's present in your auditory environment. If you notice yourself getting swept away by thoughts, there's no point in trying to stop the river. The idea with awareness practices like this is to just see if you can climb up on the riverbank and let the river go by while you pay attention to thoughts. So there's no need to resist the thoughts. Just let them come and go and bring your attention back to the sound you notice in your environment. It's very typical to notice things like boredom or drowsiness. These are very typical issues that we face in these kind of practices. There are also things we can just accept, but there are some strategies. If you're feeling a lot of drowsiness, maybe Instead of closing your eyes, you could open them, or you could readjust and straighten up your posture. If you're noticing a lot of boredom, and even if you're not noticing a lot of boredom, it can be really powerful to really stoke the flames of curiosity. So, honing in on those sounds, what do they sound like? Try to get into the details so they become as fascinating as a book or a television show or whatever it is, because they are that fascinating. What is this mysterious experience of sound? What does it sound like where you are right now? What does it sound like from your perspective? What does it sound like to be you in this moment? For each sound that you notice, you might notice a kind of envelope to the sound. You might notice certain sounds arising out of nowhere. You might notice certain sounds fluctuating in volume, so getting slightly louder or suddenly louder, slightly quieter or suddenly quieter. You might notice layers and textures to sound, that what you originally thought was just one sound, like the radiator, is actually like a low vibration and a subtle hum, and then there's another higher pitched layer, really getting into detail there. And then you also might notice that moment, the kind of mysterious moment where a sound vanishes, just like poof, it's gone into nothingness. So, really honing in on the clarity of detail of how the sounds change over time can be really powerful. And if this is um, challenging for you, just continue doing what you're doing. Your effort is well spent training the skill of awareness. Whenever you notice your mind wandering, just celebrate that moment of choice and come back to noticing the sounds in your environment. If you feel like you're getting the hang of this and you have some momentum, you might consider including your thoughts in this practice as sounds. So, the same way you might hear a car, slowly swell up, arrive, drive by, and then vanish, or you might hear a bird sing. You might notice your thoughts in the same way, as if they are natural sounds, because in some ways they are. Okay. For the last few moments here, just letting go of the practice, taking your time to transition at your own pace, no rush whatsoever. Okay, great. Apologies if there were any sound problems. I saw those in the chat. I can't escape the irony that we're having sound problems while doing a mindfulness of sound practice. Um, so one of the things about awareness and about all these skills of well-being that's really fascinating from the perspective of the Center for Healthy Minds and Healthy Minds Innovations and the Healthy Minds Program app. So we take a really strong evidence-based approach. A lot of this is grounded in science. And awareness, I would say, is probably of the four categories the one with a very strong scientific base for these benefits. But I'd say there's another sort of benefit that we can include here, which is the more subjective personal benefits we notice as we start to do these practices and notice changes within our life. And for me, one of the biggest changes there has been the space for choice. And there's something really powerful about this concept. The reality is that by practicing awareness and noticing sounds in your environment, or noticing your thoughts, or noticing your feelings, even if those are challenging feelings, especially in the context of a pandemic like this. I've personally noticed a lot of the people close to me, including myself, are starting to hit their limit here. It's not that you're going to practice awareness and all your problems are miraculously going to go away, but really there's this kind of space for choice that arises, so that if you feel anger welling up, or if there's a sound in your environment that's really annoying you, like a noisy neighbor or something like that, you won't immediately sort of react aggressively, letting your emotions take over and losing sense of the kind of person you want to be. That you'll actually notice that, and with training the skill of awareness, you'll have a bit of a pause there. So I'll invite you now in the chat to maybe share at least one or maybe more sounds that you heard during this practice. What are some of the sounds? I'd be curious just to see what environment we're all in and what are the different sounds that we're hearing. Um, and maybe what I'll do while I wait for you to chime in the chat is share a little bit about how this space for choice aligns in the story of my son throwing the ball out of the wagon. In that moment where he was about to throw the ball and he paused to listen to that sound, I was aware of him stopping. And this seems like a trivial example, but the little things add up, because the moment that he stopped, if I had just dove in and said, "Come on, buddy, throw the ball," I would have not given him the chance to fully experience his environment. And if this happens year after year after year, for me personally, that's not the kind of father I want to be. I want to give him a chance to enjoy the beauty of the natural world. So I had this space for choice that I attribute to something that I do not remember having before I started training in awareness. This chance to say, wait, what just happened? Why did he stop here? And what's going on? Let me take a moment. And I gave him that moment to really listen to that sound and experience it. And that's something that I notice more and more as I train these skills of awareness. So Jason heard his cat's eating. Oh, that's so wonderful. And Centro, the filter of water of the pool. Yeah, the pool filter. That's an interesting sound. I bet you noticed some textures in there. Caitlin, your partner walking around upstairs. Thank you for sharing that. That's a very common one in our modern buildings. Hum of the refrigerator, cars, and my voice, of course. That's right. Water running in the distance, rumbling machine sound, birds, cars, trucks, a plane. Thanks, Addie. Lauren seems to be in an urban environment of some kind with birds as well. Sounds of traffic, Idolia, David, lawnmower, girlfriend's voice, my own breath and thoughts. So we're all in these unique sound environments all the time. And I encourage you for the rest of the day to see if there's some moment where you can do what my son Oliver did, where a sound arises and you just pause for a moment, no matter what you're doing, and really fully listen to and appreciate the beauty of that sound. Because one of the things that I've grown to appreciate here is that as you train in awareness, you start to naturally gain an appreciation, which is kind of more on the connection pillar, but these skills are very connected. As you train in awareness, you start to gain an appreciation for all the subtle beauty in the natural environment around us. And that can be really motivating and really inspiring in times where we feel trapped, like in this pandemic, where in fact, wherever you are, wherever you might be, there's probably something really beautiful nearby that you may not have noticed yet. And so I encourage you and maybe even challenge you to go find that little aspect of beauty in those same trails, that same room that you've been a million times, to just take a look and see that. So thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you next week. As you know, You can subscribe below. We have another session tomorrow morning with the wonderful Dr. Richie Davidson, which is at 11 Eastern, 10 Central, which would be 8 Pacific. And yeah, I hope you're safe. I hope you're well. I hope you're able to find balance in this challenging time. Thank you so much for contributing in the chat, and take care. All the best to you.